Nearly 70% of Americans age 65 or older will require some sort of long-term care according to the US Department of Health. So in today's video, I want to walk through why long-term care can be such a big risk to your retirement. We'll look at a case study of a couple that had a big fear of potentially running out of money due to long-term care. So we'll look at the impact long-term care had on their plan, and then we'll talk about some ways that they could help improve that situation. And if you're new here, my name is Ryan, and I'm the founder of Denali Financial Group, and we help people plan and prepare for retirement. And recently, I met with a couple named Jim and Sally, and they had about $1.5 million saved for retirement. And their big concern was, what happens if Jim, who was 5 years older than Sally, went into some sort of long-term care situation? Jim really did not want to leave behind a mess or risk depleting all of their assets before he passed away and leaving Sally in a big mess. So they wanted to look at this plan. They wanted to see the impact that long-term care would have. So let's go over a quick breakdown of Jim and Sally's plan. So as I mentioned, they have $1.5 million saved. Jim is 65, Sally is 60, and Jim is retiring in 2025. Jim actually has a pension that's going to pay $36,000 per year. Jim's Social Security is right around $36,000, and Sally's at 62 will be about $22,000 per year. Currently, they're spending about $100,000 per year, but they wanted to see what the plan looked like if we increase that by about $25,000 a year. So we've already built this plan by increasing their expenses, and things looked pretty good. The last thing we really wanted to look at was healthcare and really legacy, making sure that Sally was okay if something happened to Jim. And so if we go in and we look at what Jim might spend on long-term care well into the future, we like to use this website right here. And what it does is it shows you the average cost of a private room today in the city that Jim lives in compared to, you can go out 10, 15, 20 years. So if we go out 20 years into the future, we project that Jim would be spending close to $21,000 a month for long-term care for that private room. And so this is the number that we're going to work off as we build this into their plan. So let's jump in here really quick to Jim and Sally's plan. I want to show the true impact of adjusting for long-term care, what that does inside of the planning software. So as I mentioned, we have already gone through the majority of the plan with Jim and Sally. We've looked at what Roth conversions and tax planning has looked like. We included the increase in expenses, so we added an extra $25,000 in expenses on top of the $100,000 they were already spending. So we've already included all of that. And with that, their plan shows an 87% probability of success, which we really like that number. That's a good number. A lot of people want to aim for 100%, but sometimes that means you're not spending enough money, right? It means you're not maximizing this money you've saved for. So 87 can really be a good sweet spot. So we were feeling good about this plan. It also projected that there would be $3.2 million left over at the end of Sally's life. So this means their kids are getting quite a nest egg at the end. So this is one of those plans where it's a win-win so far. Jim and Sally are getting to do all the things they want to do. They're spending extra money, and they're leaving behind a nest egg to their kids. But we wanted to stress test for one last thing, and that is the long-term care. So if we come over here, we've already gone in and we've updated this to show that Jim, the final 3 years of his life, would be spending around an average of about $250,000 extra per year for the final 3 years. So what does that do to the plan? So if we click this toggle here, you will see quite a big dip in that probability of success. So this number, while not the end of the world, this is one where we would start to talk to a client about seeing what we can do to improve this. And by the way, still not a bad plan at all. It's projecting they'll still have potentially $2 million sitting there. But there are some scenarios where, depending on what happens in the market, Jim and Sally could potentially run out of money, or really Sally. could run out of money if Jim goes into that long-term care. So at the end of the day, Jim's whole goal was, how do we make sure that something he goes through healthcare wise doesn't end up depleting their money, putting Sally in a bad spot as she lives on her life without Jim. Okay, so there's a couple things Jim and Sally could try to do to improve this plan while assuming there's long-term care. One would be not getting any sort of long-term care insurance and just trying to make adjustments within their current plan. So this could be reducing expenses. This could be, I don't know, picking up a part-time job for a few years. Probably not enough, right? That's usually not what we would say to do to help plan for this. So the other options are looking at long-term care insurance. And there's a couple things to think about when doing this. One, a lot of times when I talk to clients about long-term care, the first thing they say is, oh, it's so expensive, too late, I should have done that in my 40s. And yes, it is expensive, long-term care, especially if you're talking about traditional long-term care. And this is the one that people usually don't like to see because it's really expensive. The annual premiums are expensive, and it's a use it or lose it policy, meaning if they never need long-term care, which is a good thing, but it means they wasted years and years of premiums that they paid towards it that they feel like they could have used on other things in retirement or that could have been left with their family. But another option that they could consider if use it or lose it is something they don't like the idea of, and that is a hybrid long-term care policy. And this is actually a life insurance policy with a long-term care rider. But what it does is it provides long-term care if you require it. But if you don't ever need it, it's actually going to pay a death benefit back to your beneficiaries. This prevents you from completely wasting it, right? So if you were to fund this over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or maybe just even in a lump sum, it would be there to provide a long-term care benefit. But then if you never needed it, it would pay back to your loved ones as a death benefit. So if you put in $100,000, they're going to get a death benefit of $100,000 if you never require the long-term care. So there's a lot of factors that go into these, but they have become more and more popular because of the fact that traditional long-term care can be pretty expensive. And these are expensive as well, but the fact that they can come back to your beneficiaries if you never require it can be really attractive to certain people. So if you are ever curious on what a true 5-world retirement plan looks like the income, the investments, the taxes, the healthcare, long-term care, and legacy, well, go below and sign up for a free consultation call with me just to see if there's ways that we could potentially improve your situation, or if you want to see the impact that long-term care and how some of these types of policies could help your plan. Go below, take our quiz, and we can help get you some more information on what a plan or policy would look like for you. So that is all I've got today. Like the video, subscribe, and we will see you again next week.